time to talk about our major nor'easter that is in store to affect the East Coast come Sunday into Monday and then into very early on Tuesday. I want to go over what the models are currently showing because they are going absolutely haywire at this point with this storm. Let's take a look at the GFS, and I want to say something real quick because there's been a lot of flack with the GFS in the weather community over the last winter. Really, they've been saying that the GFS has been so far off, and yes, it has been off, but it's really not that far off when you look at the upper levels. A small difference in the upper levels makes a huge difference at what it shows at the surface. So it makes sense as to why the GFS is sometimes off, because there's just a slight difference in the upper levels. But this one, I think that the GFS, if this storm verifies, which it looks like it is going to, the GFS has done an amazing job with modeling this storm this far out. But let's take a look at what the GFS is showing. I want to show you the upper levels here quick, because the upper levels tell the entire story. They tell the story here. So let's take a look at the 500 millibar and vorticity map, and let's move this along here. So here is our southern piece. This brings the storm. This brings the moisture. This brings the energy. This brings the storm. This is the northern piece. This steers the storm. So if you want the storm to go up the coast, what you need to have happen is you need this northern piece, this northern trough, to dig southward. You want it to go either neutral or negative. Ideally, it goes negative, because then that steers the storm up the coast and brings that precipitation on the cold side of the storm. And look what happens. Look what the GFS does. So this is the southern piece. Let's move this along here. Look at that. It drops that northern piece into the southern piece. And look at this. You have a positively tilted trough. And look where it's positioned. It's positioned over the Ohio Valley region. And that's where you want it to be positioned if you want an East Coast snowstorm. But then also look at this ridge axis. It's not exactly where you want it to be, but it's pretty darn close. It's pretty darn close. And look what happens here. Let's move this along here. Look at that. Goes negative. Negative. So look where the flow is out of then. The flow, it's out of the south and southeast. So what does that do? It steers the storm up and back towards the East Coast. And look at this. You get a cutoff low. You get a strong intensifying low pressure system here that rides up the East Coast, and it drops loads and loads of snow all the way from Baltimore, DC, into Philadelphia, into New York City, into Boston, into Albany, and into Augusta and Portland, Maine. Let's take a look at what it shows at the surface. I'm going to zoom in here real quick. I'm going to zoom into the Northeast so that you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about here. Let's move to the Northeast, and I just want to take a look at what it shows at the surface here. Look at this. Look at this. This is for Sunday at 1 a.m. here. So you're getting some snow moving into central PA. And that's because you have these two systems here. You're going to have an inverted trough. So you're going to have enhanced upward motion, but then you're also going to have strong upper level divergence over this region, over the mid-Atlantic right here. And that's going to help create and initiate this region of snow. This isn't even really associated. It's associated, but it's not exactly directly from the coastal storm. I'll show you what happens here. So you get snow building here across PA, into New York, into Ohio, into West Virginia. And here's your coastal storm down here. It starts to take shape throughout the day on Sunday into the evening hours. And look at this. You get heavy, heavy snow all the way from Baltimore, DC, into Delaware, into New Jersey, into Philadelphia, up into Harrisburg here, into New York City. And then this is for 10 p.m. on Sunday. Look at this. You're snowing hard along the East Coast. In Philadelphia, just to the east of Harrisburg, you're still getting snow in Harrisburg, but it's not as heavy as if you're over here in eastern PA. It's snowing hard at 10 p.m. on Sunday. It's snowing hard here in eastern Maryland into Delaware. And look at this. Look at this. You get heavy snow Sunday night into Monday here across southern New England, into Massachusetts, into Boston. That is the sweet spot. If you want a lot of snow, you want to be in this corridor right here. And I'll show you my snowfall forecast in just a second here. But you want to be in this corridor right here. That's where we're talking 12 to 18, if not 18 to 24 inches in some areas. I think that this storm could produce snow totals close, if not reaching 30 inches. This storm is going to be a powerful storm. And this is going to be like one that we have not seen in quite some time. And this is going to be a bomb cyclone. So the pressure does look to meet the criteria to be called a bomb cyclone. And no surprise, I mean, this storm is going to be a powerful, powerful storm. Let's take a look at what the Euro is showing now. All right, for the Euro, we're going to start with the surface. Let's move this along here. This is valid for Sunday at 4 a.m. This is 7 a.m. here. You start to get snow overspreading eastern Pennsylvania into New York. Snow really starts to crank up. Not heavy snow, but it's light to moderate snow here across the state. And you might get some rain and snow mix, possibly even some plain rain here into New Jersey, southeastern Pennsylvania, into south central PA. You might get some rain and snow mix at the onset because it is not, we don't have an Arctic air injection ahead of this storm. Remember last storm, we started snowing when it was in the single digits. It's not going to be the case here. The temperatures at the surface are going to be borderline, but it's the atmospheric profile above that's what matters the most. And it's going to be cold enough to support snow, especially once the atmosphere gets primed. You start evaporating into that warmer layer and it's drier layer. So you start evaporating that precipitation, the atmosphere starts to cool, and then you start changing over to snow just like that. Look at that. That's the European. This is for Sunday at 7 p.m. And here's your coastal storm. It really starts to take shape and it starts to crank up. And you're going to get some snow on this side of it on the eastern PA, snowing hard in Jersey, the Delaware, eastern Maryland. Then you're snowing hard up here in New York City, into Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts through Monday morning. This is Boston right up in here. And again, this is where you're going to see, if you want some heavy snow, this is where you want to be, right in this corridor right here, because the low is not going to be exactly hugging the coast, but it's going to be close enough that I-95 and east get a substantial snowstorm out of this. And I want to show you what the upper levels look like for the European model, because again, that tells the story. Let's zoom out so that we can see the entire nation here. All right, so here's that southern energy and here's that northern piece. And this is through the day tomorrow. This is at 1 p.m. tomorrow. Look at this southern energy again that brings the storm, this northern piece. It drops it into that southern piece. And look where they phase. They phase right here along the baroclinic zone along the coast, which is where you want it if you want a large snowstorm along the coast. And look at this. You get a negatively tilted trough, which is oriented from southeast to the northwest. And what does that do again? It steers that storm, it drives that storm back and up the east coast, and you get snow on the cold side of this boundary here. And look at that. It's a little bit farther offshore than what the GFS is showing, but it's gotten closer to what the GFS has been showing over the last few days. So it's brought the storm further back than what it was showing yesterday and the day before. The European and the Euro AI really had this thing far offshore, but it's backed it further west over the last few runs. And now it brings a substantial snowstorm along the East Coast into the major cities, Philadelphia, into Baltimore, D.C., into New York City, into Boston. Let's take a look at some of these snow totals here, what the European is showing. Now, again, this is just one model. This is just the European model, but look at this. It brings about 3 to 6 and 6 to 12 in eastern PA, 3 to 6, region of 6 to 12 here in south central Pennsylvania. And then you get 6 to 12 along the coast here. And look at this. This is the sweet spot right up in here. Boston, you're in the sweet spot, 12 to 18 inches easily out of this storm. And like I said before, I think that a storm max of 30 inches is not out of the question. I would not be surprised if I see someone reporting 30 inches after this storm is all said and done. And I want to show you one more. I'm going to show you the Euro AI quick. So here is the Euro AI, and this is the most recent run here. Let's pull that up. Yep, there's the most recent run here. Let's move this along here. So you see the storm is forming here along the coast. This is very early Sunday morning. You have snow already overspreading Pennsylvania into western New York, into Ohio, into West Virginia. And then the storm really starts to crank up here through the evening hours on Sunday as the storm heads up the coast here, and you're snowing hard all along the East Coast here by overnight Sunday into Monday. And then by Monday morning, you're snowing hard in eastern PA, into eastern New Jersey, into New York City, into Boston, into southern Maine. And then through the day on Monday into early Tuesday morning, it's snowing pretty hard up here in Maine. And then the storm exits off to the north and east. And again, I would show you the upper levels, but it's the same deal. It's a negatively tilted trough that steers that storm up the coast. Now let's take a look at the snowfall totals. Here is the snowfall map that I made. I put a broad region of 1 to 3 here into Ohio, into parts of Kentucky, down into Tennessee, of the Appalachian Mountains down here, and then into Virginia. And then I put a region of 3 to 6, a broad region of 3 to 6. In Harrisburg, you're right on the line. I put you in the 3 to 6, but you're right on the line there. 6 to 12 across eastern Pennsylvania. Into Philadelphia, you're right on the line of 12 to 18, if not 6 to 12. You're right on the line there. New York City, you're in the 12 to 18. Boston, you're in the 12 to 18, right on the line of the 18 to 24. I can see you going either direction at this point. And then up here into Maine, 6 to 12. Into Portland, you're getting 6 to 12. Albany, you are in the 3 to 6. You're right on the line, though. I could see you're probably going to get closer to that 6-inch mark right around Albany. And then here in the Appalachian Mountains of West Virginia, a broad region of 6 to 12 with a tighter corridor of 12 to 18. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. If anything changes, I will let you guys know. Make sure to follow me on Facebook and X at Geostrophic Flow. And drop a like and subscribe.